Hey Guardians, I just want to let everyone know that I do have both a Twitch and a Twitter, and I'm very active on both. Feel free to come give me a follow on both, links in the description. Okay, Guardians, so in continuing with these videos talking about what kind of my, sweatier setups are for things like comp, trials, or even just particularly difficult matches that I might get inside of sixes, this time we're talking about Titan. Now again, keeping in mind this is, for sweatier loadouts. For Titan, there are two subclasses that I will always gravitate towards, and that's going to be Prismatic or Void. Now, we're going to start with the Prismatic setup. As far as my abilities and super and all that, you can kind of see this on your screen now, and I'm going to get this out of the way right now, because some people are probably already looking at this going, what are you doing? I like Thruster, but Barricades are way, way stronger. I just personally like Thruster. But yes, Barricades are better. They provide on-demand cover. You can potentially use it to block off entryways, to an objective or something like that. They will do a ton of damage to any opponent who tries to walk through them. These are just insanely strong and are for sure the better choice over Thruster, but me personally, I just like Thruster. Then for my jump, I'm on Catapult Lift just because it will help you move around faster. On my melee, I'm on Shiver Strike, largely for movement, right? You can kind of use Shiver Strike almost like Icarus Dash, but it does also double as a very, very powerful melee ability. And then for my grenades, I will typically default to Suppressor Grenades just because, unfortunately, the game is in a state where ability spam is just everywhere, and suppressor grenades will help you deal with that a little bit by, temporarily taking away someone's abilities for a few seconds. My other choices would typically either be Glacier Grenade, which can kind of also act as a barricade if I'm taking fire and maybe someone is out of range so I can't shoot back. I could throw a Glacier Grenade in front of me and then run away. I can also use it, again, similar to Barricade. I can use it to block off entry points, that sort of thing. My other choice would be thermite grenades. But pulse grenades really aren't that bad either. It's just personally I'm either going to be on suppressor grenade, glacier grenade, or thermite grenades. Then for my aspects, I am on knockout for obvious reasons. This is one of the most broken aspects in the game. Break someone's shields and you get a massive boost to your melee lunge range, and I think it's literally something like it'll give you like a 10-meter melee lunge, which is just insane. I really, really wish Bungie would nerf this aspect, genuinely, because with the networking and everything, normal melee fights already feel terrible in this game, and knockout just makes it so much worse. But again, we're talking kind of sweatier loadouts here. I'm going to use knockout because it's probably the best aspect available for Prismatic Titan. And then Diamond Lances for obvious reasons. You get one of these to spawn on a kill, you can pick it up, throw it at an opponent, it will freeze them, and then you can literally just punch them for what is very literally a free kill. This is also a just completely broken aspect. Now for my super, I am either going to be on Twilight Arsenal or I'm going to be on Glacial Quake. Occasionally I might be on Thunder Crash, but typically it's going to be one of these two. I would pretty well ignore Blade Fury and Hammer of Soul. Honestly, I just don't really care for these supers much in PvP anyway, and Hammer of Soul is pretty terrible just in general unless you're on Solar Titan. In that case, it's not bad. But if I want a roaming super, I'm on Glacial Quake. If I want a shutdown super, I'm on Twilight Arsenal 90% of the time. Now for my fragments, you can see them here. These are mostly just here for stats, but depending on what I'm using, I may swap out one of these for Facet of Dawn, where powered melee hits against targets will make me radiant, and that's just a little bit of free extra damage, which is very helpful just in general, but especially on certain weapons that can be very, very potent. But generally speaking, this is just what I use, and again, these are mostly just here for stats. I'm not like the biggest build crafter or whatever. I mostly just try to rely on my weapons, so these are mostly just here for stats. There really aren't any like super crazy synergies or anything like that going on. Now we'll talk about Void in a minute, but on Prismatic, again, sweatier loadout typically, like I talked about on my Warlock video, I will usually be on a 120 hand cannon or No Time to Explain, which I will talk about shortly. On this subclass, because I don't have a 120 that I'm going to be using with harmonic mods, I will usually be on Kramil's Dagger. Now I did not like this hand cannon when it first got reprised. It's grown on me a lot since then. This is an extremely powerful hand cannon, and this is probably my favorite role out of the ones that I've gotten. And I know people are going to ask, why not Adagio here? right? Because Adagio will just let you 2-tap after a kill. And the reason, quite frankly, is I just don't have an Adagio roll that I particularly like at the moment. Next Iron Banner, I'm going to be grinding for that again, and what I will be looking for is literally this exact roll, just with Adagio here instead of Zen Moment. But this is still a great roll, especially with Zen Moment here. This thing has basically no recoil. It's just very stable, very flat shooting, feels great to use. Now for my backup weapon, I will typically be either on this slug, again, Inquisitor. We talked about this on my last video for Warlock, but again, Lone Wolf, opening shot, faster ADS speed, and a boost to my aim assist, more range on my first shot, and a boost to my aim assist. Not a perfect roll. I would rather have like Accurized here and Fluted Barrel here, but overall, it's still more than adequate to get the job done. This weapon does what I need it to pretty much every time that I need it to. If I'm not on Inquisitor, I will typically be on the Solar Spreadshot Hand Cannon of Phonutria Farah, but most of the time I'm going to be on Inquisitor. And then again, for my heavy, I'm going to be on a rocket, typically Truth, which is the exotic rocket launcher, but I've just been using this one lately, kind of experimenting with it a little bit. Bipod, so I just automatically have 2 shots in the tube when I pick up heavy, and then Cluster Bomb, just wanted to see how it felt. But if you are inside of like comp or trials or something like that, then I would say you for sure just want to default to Truth, which again, for anyone who might be new, this is Truth. Pretty sure you can pick this up from the exotic kiosk. Very, very powerful rocket launcher. When you pick up heavy, you will also have 2 in the tube ready to go with this weapon, and it also just has very aggressive tracking, so extremely powerful heavy weapon. Outside of that, for my mods, just targeting mods, handling mods, unflinching mods, pretty standard stuff. And then I'm on Dune Marchers, mainly for the movement. The melee, of course, is very nice, right? Sometimes when you melee someone, you can get like a chain lightning reaction that can net you a multi-kill, but it's mostly for the movement. Then I have double athletics, mainly just because, to be perfectly honest, a fast Titan is a very scary Titan. And then I have 1 arc holster, just so that if I pick up ammo and Inquisitor is stowed, the holster will just load it for me. And then again on my class item, just stuff to kind of help me get my abilities back faster. Now, yet again, my stat spread here definitely isn't perfect. 180 health is pretty well where I want to be. Ideally 200 if I can get it, but 180 is perfectly adequate. What I would like to have in a perfect world would be, again, 180 to 200 health, 70 melee, 70 grenade, 100 super, 70 class. I have not done that yet. Next Iron Banner that comes around, I'm going to be hoarding armor like crazy again, and I've started running like, you know, Pinnacle Ops and whatnot so I can finish getting my armor sorted out on my Titan as well. But this is still a perfectly adequate stat spread. It does the job, let's just say that. Now, pound for pound, I would say for PvP, Prismatic Titan is probably the strongest overall subclass, but we're going to talk about the other subclass that I will sometimes use on Titan as well next. Now, this is the other setup that I use, and it's on Void Titan, which it could be argued that Void Titan is just as strong as Prismatic. You still have Twilight Arsenal here for a good shutdown super. You have Scatter Grenades, which are arguably the best grenade for PvP right now, and then you have Shield Bash, which it's not as good for movement as Shiver Strike, but if you hit a super or something with this thing, it will suppress them, so that is also very useful. And of course, you still have suppressor grenades on here too, so still plenty of really good abilities here, but really the main star here is going to be the Bastion aspect. This is another aspect that I cannot believe they haven't nerfed yet. In fact, I'm still shocked that it still works in PvP at all, but basically, if I put down a barricade, it will just give me an overshield for free, and it's a thick overshield, like a TTK shifting overshield. At least in most cases, like a Precision Instrument 120 can still 3-tap me to the head, but for the most part, this is going to slow my opponent's TTK. And then I have Controlled Demolition, where hitting a target with a Void ability or a volatile explosion makes them volatile. So if I hit someone with a grenade or a shield bash, it makes them volatile. And at that point, if me or one of my teammates just puts in a little bit of extra damage, they're going to explode. That's pretty much it. Now, as far as my fragments go, again, these are mostly here for stats, with a couple of exceptions. First off, you have Echo of Vigilance. I have talked about this fragment before. I cannot believe it hasn't been nerfed yet, but with Echo of Vigilance, if I get into a gunfight and my shields break, but I still get the kill, I get an overshield. And then the other one is Echo of Leeching, where melee final blows start health regen for you and nearby allies. So if I'm weak, Maybe I get into a melee fight or something, I'm weak, but I still secure the kill with a melee, I get my health back, and any nearby allies, they'll also get their health back. And when you're playing as a Titan, you will just typically find yourself in a lot of melee fights. That's just how it goes. So that's typically what I use on Void Titan as far as my abilities and everything goes. And don't get it twisted, this is still an extremely oppressive subclass, especially that Bastion aspect. This subclass is just insane. It's very strong. Now, outside of that, for my weapons, again, still running Inquisitor under Rocket. However, in this case, I'm running No Time to Explain. No Time to Explain is still one of the best guns in the game. It is extremely lethal and it is extremely easy to use, and it honestly shocks me that I don't see it everywhere still. This is such a powerful, easy to use weapon. And I mean, during my very last minute Ascendant climb, during Season of Heresy or whatever it was called, even when everyone during that time was on Redrix, I was still on No Time, and this gun fries Redrix all day long, no question. Now, as far as my armor goes, pretty well the same stuff. I do have triple athletics on this one because I'm not on Dune Marchers, and so I'm just trying to bring my movement speed up as much as I can. But outside of that, pretty standard stuff, just handling mods, unflinching mods, targeting mods, so on and so forth. Now, for my exotic, I am using One-Eyed Mask, where highlights a target who dares to damage you, track down and destroy them for an overshield. And so you may notice kind of a theme going on here. The point of this setup is just having tons of damage resistance, right? So I have One-Eyed Mask, which can give me an overshield. I have Echo of Vigilance, which can give me an overshield. I have Bastion, which can give me an overshield. And this is typically a setup that I'll use if I'm having a really tough match where I'm getting team shot a lot. Maybe my team isn't taking space like they should be, and so I'm constantly, you know, taking fights with like multiple opponents, or I'm having to play super ratty or something like that. The point of this setup is survivability. And so those are the loadouts that I use when I, you know, have a sweaty match and I'm just like, I need to win this match, I need to make it happen. Those are the loadouts that I will typically use on my Titan. Really, the only things that I might swap out would be, again, if I have a map where there can be extremely long-range gunfights like Eternity or something like that, then I might, you know, instead of this setup, I might swap out Inquisitor for Aisha's Embrace, the scout rifle, and then have a shotgun or a spread shot hand cannon up here, you know, of some sort. Or if I'm on like a super close quarters map, then I might swap over to Drang or something like that. But just as a general rule, these are the loadouts that I'm going to use on my Titan. This is what I'm going to take into things like comp, trials, or things that I might swap to if I have even just a particularly annoying or sweaty match in sixes. But anyway, Guardians, we will get into the gameplay now. Again, this will be inside of zone control for Call to Arms. I have really no reason to be playing comp or trials right now, and I don't want to. So it will be in sixes, but this is what I would use in threes too. But anyway, as always, Guardians, you can let me know in the comments what your go-to, like, sweat, I need to win loadouts are. And of course, hit that like button and that subscribe button with the bell icon. And as always, please do me a favor and consider using the hype function to get this video some extra attention. You get 3 free hypes per week, and it really does help the channel out a ton, especially during these dry periods inside of Destiny. But for now, enjoy the gameplay, Guardians. I will see you all in the next one.
see lost. That's why we have fire. Don't be lost. the lead.